What is up, everybody? Happy Friday. Happy Labor Day weekend for those of you in the United States. What we got going on today is not PR cards like I thought I was going to be talking about. We have reprints. We have reprints for Data Live Trial Deck and Kaguya-sama Love is War Trial Deck. People thought this day was not going to come. I knew it was going to come because it only makes sense that why leave money on the table when you can capitalize on some sweet profits. And that's what Bushy Road is doing here. The main thing to be aware of right away, just right away before everybody freaks out, is the fact that they have listened to people that collected, and not what they're doing with Attack on Titan where they're leaving everything exactly the same. With this reprint, you can see right here, please be informed that SP card will have hot stamped silver print. So there will be a differentiation between the first printing, which had gold stamps, and then we have silver stamps for the second release. So that's a plus side for people that are worried about it. It is definitely a plus for people that were looking for certain cards out of the trial deck. How they handle this is going to be very interesting. So let's take a look back here on memory lane. And why this is happening is because we knew that reprints are happening on booster boxes when there is a subsequent release. We've seen that with Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan got a reprint for both first and second volume. We got that with That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. They put a reprint stamp on it. Let me just show you that real quick. So you can see that from the picture, but I got a box. Let's show and tell, right? Right there in the corner is the word reprint on it. So it was nice that they put that right onto the actual box. So you got that reprint coming. Why this is happening with Kaguya and Data Live, you can see here on the upcoming product list, Kaguya-sama and Data Live is having another volume. So this is a plus. They can actually just have this reprinted, put it in the contract if they need to, and print this out, make more money. And again, it helps out players that actually needed some cards to go with it, because Data Live did actually have a Toka card that you might want to use in your deck. So with what happened before with That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, there were gold signatures that got converted into silver signatures. With Overlord reprint, there were gold signatures, and on the second printing are now silver prints. What that actually looks like, so you can see this here on TCG Player, like side by side. Right here you can see the gold first printing, and then we have the silver second printing right there. With Overlord, we have not actually seen the reprint yet. You can see the date of this announcement was December 22nd, 2021. Nobody has any clue about when this is coming out. No one knows. Just we're gonna leave it at that. No one knows. So hopefully, if you pre-ordered it, you're holding tough and strong, because you might have to wait a while longer. Who really knows anymore? What we have is Data Live Trial Deck that originally came out on March 26, 2021. There were two SPs in there for Toka and Origami. Again, going from gold to silver signatures. With Kaguya Love is War, this is why I wanted to show you this. Kaguya was an Aniplex anime. Because of that, whatever involving Aniplex anime, there were no actual signatures on there. What you had on the left is the Japanese version. On the right, you got what English got, which was the removal of said signature. Sad for us. So when you're gonna see the second printing, this will just change to silver, no signatures at all. Okay, so that's very important to realize, and that's kind of what it says right here on the Kaguya release, that the artwork for the SP have been modified from the Japanese edition, and then also it will be a silver print. Keep that in mind. So nice part is, if you needed any of these cards, if you needed a trial deck, you're getting a second shot at it. The best part about the Kaguya one, or not best part anyways, it depends on who you are. There was a production issue with Kaguya-sama Love is War Trial Deck. What actually happened was they did not put the right amount of cards into the actual trial deck box. You got 9 climax cards instead of 8, and you got shorted 1 card of a romantic battle of the brains. So I say it depends on who you are, because imagine this. Imagine there's an actual tournament that you just have to use trial decks. Like you just pick it from a box, you play some trial decks. I don't know if anybody does that. I think that would be fun just to, have a little entry fee. People got, let's say a store opened a bunch of trial decks, had some extra, and let's say, let's do a tournament. You buy the trial deck for $5 and just play. I think that would be really cool. The Kaguya-sama Love is War had 9 climaxes, which gives you an advantage. If people didn't know about it, maybe you can cheat. Something like that. It's not cheating, I guess, if the box is built that way. What Bushy Road or Weiss Schwarz did was they were going to send replacement cards. I never got one of those from my seller. I don't know if that actually happened. So I have illegal trial decks of Kaguya-sama Love is War. So I want to use that on my family one day. And I don't think they watch this, so it'd be hilarious just to... when I was talking to him about that trial deck tournament kind of thing, I want to do that between my family or friends or something. I think that would be really fun. And I just happen to use the Kaguya trial deck and nobody knows, because maybe winning is everything. Anyways, let's just take a quick look at the Data Live trial deck. Right now, the Data Live trial deck is pretty insane. You can see this here. Here are the sealed. This is $80 on the outside anyways, and then a display $800. Clicking into it, yep, $79.99 is what we have here. 6 for sale. There is 4 sellers. I actually saw this. I'm like, this is kind of nuts. I guess I don't know when any of these sellers put this up. Maybe this was already sitting here. Maybe it wasn't. Kind of crazy though, if you take a look at the last sold, there's been basically $90 sales, $100 sales as of August 27th. As of looking right now, there is 4 sellers, lowest being $80. So that could have just been good timing, or they just wanted to get rid of it. Who knows? For sure, it doesn't really matter. Here is the display. This hasn't sold. This has been here forever, but $800 is what we have. And remember, since there is an actual reprint 2nd edition version, it's going to be interesting to see how this actually plays out. I was thinking about it in my mind, right? Let me just show this one more time. Right here again, we have this reprint slime box in the top left corner. Yep, top left corner. Where would you put reprint? Kaguya box is slightly messed up now. It's okay. It's okay. I got a replacement for it. So Data Live, where would you put the reprint on it? Would you put it up here? Would you? I am assuming if Bushy Road, you are out there, Weiss Schwarz, you are out there listening, you definitely need to write reprint on this, because not everybody is going to buy one of these, right? Right. I would imagine reprint would be up here, kind of like how the slime was. But where would you put it on the trial deck? Because people open individual trial decks. You would not want to just leave this the same way as it is, right? It needs to be reprint somewhere on this actual box. So maybe, I'm like, where would you put that? Kind of doesn't flow there. It doesn't really look good there, but it needs to be somewhere on this box. This is why I'm not a designer at all. I'm gonna get my trial deck. I'm interested to see what actually happened to it. Is it sturdy enough? Yeah, there's no damage on it at all. That's pretty impressive, depending, like, that sounded really loud to me as it dropped to the floor, but good boxes, right? Good boxes. There's no sort of damage. That's like my test. The tape is undisturbed. The box is not broken in any spot. So yeah, I like busting these out whenever I can. My sealed, let them get some air, because I see my trial deck's a little dusty. So here's my Data Live one. I really do. I've said this before. I love having these as actual displays that I can just have out. If I'm one of those fancy YouTubers, I'd have like a little room with all the sealed behind me, all these displays. I think it'd be cool with the trial deck standing up and the booster box. But I am not a fancy YouTuber at all. I just make videos, and you seemingly watch it. So thank you again, everybody that's still watching this. So anyways, displays should hold some value, because there will be silver signatures. If it matters to you, if you have a first edition printing gold version or second edition silver printing, then these things need to be labeled with reprint on the box. On the actual trial deck, it needs to be marked on the display as well. If you want to put it on the cardboard box, that's pretty good too. The big brown cardboard case or carton should be labeled as well. With the trial deck for Data Live, the big thing with that one was you may have wanted to use Confrontation with Humans Toka. You could see this card 1692. So I know, well, never mind. That was what it used to be. I wonder, it is funny because, you know, obviously you see me doing this video right now, like it's happening. It normally takes me about 30 to an hour to set these videos up, to set these tabs. Like I got a million tabs going across the top. It is funny because you saw what that price was on the outside, right? It was 16, now it is 13.97 because some people got the news, right? Like, so when you look at these trial deck cards are pretty expensive. But with trial deck cards, it doesn't matter if it's first or second printing. There's nothing special about it. It's just a trial deck card. It is just a card. There's no stamping on it or anything like that. So when these reprints come, you would obviously think this would drop down in price. Should I talk about, I'll talk about that now. We're going to talk about this now. This thing should go down in price, but at the same time, this is where I would caution people, like the investing, the speculating part. So this is throwing my video out of order, but I'm going to put it right here. So when you look at these kind of cards and this reprint and all of that, how much is really going to be bought of it? The SPs that are inside of this box is this Confrontation with Humans Toka, which was the parallel of that $16 card, which is now $14. And then also in there was this Confrontation with Spirits Origami. Is there a huge demand for people to buy these trial decks to search for these actual cards? Or really is the demand for this reprint going to be because of this card right here? Like, figure that part out, because even though there's a reprint, and more than likely it's going to go through, Bushiroad is, even though they put this pre-order out there, they're only going to reprint it if there's enough demand for it. If people really, really want this stuff, because they're not going to take a loss on it. Let's say it comes under what they would have, the cost to print it. They're not going to print it. They're just going to cancel the orders overall. So with Data Live, when you're looking at this, is there going to be that huge demand to buy this because of the sign cards, or is it really player based, right? Like if I tell you it's a reprint for Mushoku Tensei that has that Roxy card, where is she? Roxy, right? You had a playable trial deck, had usable cards inside of it, and you had this card inside of it. I would think a ton of this would actually be bought if it's reprinted. With Data, because you have the collector's side and you have the player side. But when you have Data Live as this, where you have these signature cards, I have no idea what this sells for, by the way, this Toka. Even though it's showing us $12.75, I personally have not seen one actually sell. I don't check everywhere. So if you know the price of what this actually sells for, let me know. But would you buy an $800 case to attempt to get one or both of these, cards, these SP cards, and then also to sell a bunch of these Confrontation with Human Toka? I don't know. I mean, if it was me, I probably wouldn't do that. I wouldn't bank on that, because again, how many people really need these cards? Is there really that big of a market for it? You may be holding on to these trial decks for a while. With Kaguya, and moving forward with Kaguya at $34.99, which is a humongous difference from what you saw with Data Live, right? Data Live is sitting there in the 80s. We have Kaguya at $34.99. The display, $140. So this wasn't something that was in a huge demand. So when I saw Kaguya Love is War trial deck reprint, it actually shocked me as to why that's taking place, because here it is, $34.99. There have been some sales of it. It's not like people don't want it, but it's not like a huge market. When you look at the trial deck cards, I tried to take a look at some Kaguya Love is War Season 2, uh, Season 2 Japanese decks. I didn't see this trial deck being used all that heavily. Maybe someone will figure out something in the end. But as you can see, $1.83 is the highest card that we have for the trial. Well, without shipping. So let's go 282. 282 is the highest trial deck card that you have. The SP inside of here, as I showed, no signature. 448.47 on TCG Player right now. 350 was the last sold. I thought I remember seeing somebody sell, or at least attempting to sell on Facebook for 400. This actual card, I don't remember if it actually sold. So that is your SP inside of there. Knowing that that SP is here at that price, knowing that the trial deck, as of this point, I haven't seen any sort of like uptick in price. We did see uptick in prices on some of these cards because of the second set being released. So seeing how the trial deck hasn't moved, the trial deck cards haven't moved all that much, I'm inclined to say that maybe the trial deck is not as useful. That's what really caught me off guard about the reprint here. You don't have a signature. The trial deck itself isn't crazy expensive. I don't see any crazy expensive trial decks, cards. And then with the signature, that being what it is, it's really odd that that was reprinted to me. So what I've always talked about was cards that are very useful being in the next set. So what we had with that time I got reincarnated as a slime, there are cards in this that were very useful, and one of them was the anti-magic mask. You're not going to use this in every deck. Let's just say that right now. You're not using that in every deck. But what Bushiroad or Weiss Schwarz did on the second set, you can see this right here, same card, anti-magic mask. This thing was reprinted in a way. You see this there is different art, but it got reprinted and put into the promo slot. So inside of your booster box, you had that chance of pulling this card inside of it, and then you can use that. That's what I always assumed was going to happen with this Toka card, that it was going to be inserted somewhere as a PR. If it was a PR in the booster, or if a PR for a shop, LGS kind of shop card. But that's not what's happening. This is going to be a reprint. I really started thinking about when this reprint happened. I'm like, okay, yeah, so people can get the reprint, so they get, people are saying so people can get usable cards, but looking at Data Live and comparing that to Kaguya, is that what's really happening? No, in the end, I think that really is about just reprinting, giving collectors the chance to get the signatures, some players to get cards if they need it, and making more money. That's all it comes down to. I don't see this as anything more than that. Plus side is, this time they listened to the collector's side and are giving silver signatures. Okay. The thing that I wondered really about is, does the silver and gold make any sort of difference? See, so going back here to slime, have you, this is going to be a question for you all because I haven't looked too much into this. Has there been any sort of uptick in the gold signature price because of the silver signature? Does having a first edition matter? My opinion way back when, you can look at my videos, was yeah, the gold is going to hold their value a little bit. And that's where, until I see something that tells me different, is where my head is still at. Because if you were to take a look at this card right here, and I know last sold was 1,100 on TCG Player. I know they've been recently selling for like in the low 1,000s, right? I saw some person trying to buy it for 800 the other day. I'm fine with that. I think people were harassing them. It was kind of messed up, but I mean, the guy can set the price at whatever he wants to. If someone wants to sell it, they'll sell it to him. I think that was just, I don't know what happened there. So anyways, if you had to buy this card right now of TCG Player for $14.63, or buy a silver version at, let's say, what's a fair price? Like, let's say 600. Which would you rather buy? And because of that pricing, would that hurt the overall demand of the card? So that's what I've always thought about when I thought about these silver and gold. Even though there is a difference between first and second print, does that really matter when it comes to Weiss Schwarz? I know other games, people are going to say, yes, it actually matters. But have we seen enough from this to say that is actually true? I can't say for sure, just because the demand for the slime signatures was not as strong. I was hoping by now that we would have saw Overlord, but that is not out yet, so I can't say for sure, because we'll know right away with that Albedo card from Nazarick if that was a thing. Did anybody see the Nazarick cards, by the way? They look so good. They look so good, so I should... I'll do that at the end. I'm going to do that at the end. I know I was going to talk about reprints, but let's go. Anyways, before I lose my train of thought thinking about the Nazarick cards, let's just go here to these trial decks. So what I started thinking about was knowing that we have these cards, right? Like that reprints of trial decks are now possible. And they are happening because of the new stuff that's coming out, right? So we got this upcoming soon. We have Data Live, we have Kaguya, we're getting reprints of the trial decks. What other things out there could be hit with, or would be fun as a trial deck reprint? So I started looking through this entire product list, and let's just see. Let me just show you some. Too many tabs. Okay, first one, Sword Art Online. We know that we believe, anyways, most people believe that we will see a Sword Art Online 10th anniversary anime set come to English. When that comes to English, more than likely, as of this point, if it came out tomorrow, there would be no signatures on this. So if we actually do get a reprint of a trial deck version of Sword Art Online, the multiple different versions of trial decks, more than likely it would not be a signature at all. That is what we have seen with Saekano, right? With Saekano, with this trial deck, I know it's not a reprint, but what we got was this signature turning into Blessing Software foil stamp. That's what we got. With Sword Art Online, if they were to ever reprint it, then we more than likely will see that in that way. So people that have Aniplex trial deck SPs at this point, you're probably safe, just because you'll hold your value because it won't be reprinted. You don't have to worry about that silver and gold kind of thing happening there. You will be okay. And the other thing with this trial deck for Saekano, there was no actual serial number that was on here, right? Which would have at least helped it out a little bit to actually throw a serial number on there. Not my favorite kind of thing to put on a non-signature when you're replacing the signature, but it helps. So Sword Art Online or any Aniplex, you're good. Surprisingly, I thought this Attack on Titan would eventually be reprinted, this trial deck. It hasn't. I know they just started it now. Maybe some guy, some employee, or some executive at Weiss Schwarz Bushy Road was like, hey, let's just try it. Let's just try trial deck reprints. Let's just put that on the table. Let's just start that in 2023. We're gonna start out strong, and we're gonna do that like for the fiscal year. So maybe that's why they did it, and that's why the timing on Attack on Titan didn't happen. We got the booster boxes 1 and 2 reprinted, did not get a trial deck, but I would imagine it's still on the table just because they probably could negotiate that since they have Attack on Titan final season. Konosuba, I can imagine being reprinted. Why? Because there is another season of Konosuba coming out. If they are able to secure, Weiss Schwarz is able to secure that new season of Konosuba, and they don't throw it in Rebirth for you, I could see a reprint of trial decks. Remember, because what I shown before with Data Live and Kaguya, this doesn't have to be 100% based on player usage of these decks. It can be collector sided, right? That's if it wasn't collector sided, they would have left the signatures as gold, right? But they are going from gold to silver, which means they have collectors in mind. So Konosuba, very interesting. I believe if we ever see it, and hopefully we do, because I would love to see another season of Konosuba land in Weiss Schwarz, that could be a thing. Fate Stay Night. If there's more Fate coming out, then yeah, but again, this is Aniplex, so you'll have no signatures. ReZero. What does everybody think of this one? This one's gonna hurt a lot of souls because remember that newest season of ReZero ended in Rebirth for You, and we know that Rebirth for You IPs can land in Weiss Schwarz. So will that newest season end up in Weiss Schwarz one day? I think it's an extreme possibility. And if it does land in Weiss Schwarz one day, I guarantee you will see a ReZero trial deck reprint. 100%. This thing's going to happen. It's too much money on the table. Let's see. Right here. Check these out. I look at that and I'm like, geez, holy crap. I mean, again, this is TCG player pricing. You put it at any number you want. But even then, we know these are expensive. Let's be real here, everybody. These SPs are expensive. And if they were to print this thing, if they were to reprint this, if they put this out right now, it says who wants to buy this reprint, people would buy that. There is no way in the world that would not happen. Okay, so Bunny Girl Senpai, interesting enough, again, like with this reprint that starts probably in January 2023, there may be some room where they can negotiate it. The bad part about this is it's the same like Saekano, it's the same as Sword Art Online, it's an Aniplex, which means that card that you want may not actually have a signature on it. It more than likely will not, but I would imagine if you slap on a serial number and reprint this thing, it should sell. Most people want this. Why Bushy Road doesn't add this in? Maybe the test run is Data Live and Kaguya for this trial deck reprints, but I would imagine, collectors want it. People wanted the movie set. People wanted the original set reprinted. You gave us reprints. A lot of people wanted the trial deck reprinted, and you can still do that now. Fujimi Fantasia Bunko. This was one of those ones that got reprinted in Japan. The booster box got reprinted in Japan. I did not buy the reprint of the Japanese version because I assumed one day it would only make sense that you reprint the English version. And along with the English version, if they do reprint the booster box, why not include this trial deck? Because some of these trial decks are really, really expensive. And that would be good. I mean, you have Data Live in here, so you shouldn't have the signature issues or anything like that. We should be able to see that. Interesting enough. This amazing what this trial deck reprint opens the door for. Whether you want it or not, if it's profitable, they're going to do it. Goblin Slayer, if there is another season coming. I thought there was. I just haven't heard anything recently about it. It'd be nice to see. I have a Goblin Slayer. I was around for a Goblin Slayer when it originally came out, but I did get a trial deck for it, so it's pretty cool. It was that show, that first episode, man. If you haven't seen Goblin Slayer Season 1, Episode 1, depends on if you're okay with mature stuff, then feel free to watch that. If not, you might want to skip. Tomb of Nazarick. This thing, so freaking expensive. I did not know. Let me just, we already showed this one, so let me just bring this over here. Nazarick. I'm so glad I have trial decks for this because, geez, these are expensive. $148.94 sold out. That's freaking insane. That though I would have never guessed that when I bought my Nazarick trial decks that one day I would see this number on a Nazarick trial deck. Who would have ever guessed that thing would be $149? Insane. But since we have not, think about this, we have not got a reprint of Nazarick yet. Officially announced December 21st. We haven't not got that yet. And because it has not been reprinted, what's the chances that this right here may get reprinted? I would think if I was a guy in the ivory towers of Bushy Road that, hey, I would probably ask if someone wants this reprinted. Because as you can see here, $148, there are people that want to buy this. Right, there's plenty of people that want to buy it. You are definitely wasting some. You could be making more money. How about that? You could be making more money. Let's be real. We all know it will be. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. Crap, I should have just brought all these up. What was it, like a 160? I always look slime up this way. It's just way easier for me. Let's go with Milim. I love Milim. She's so good. All right, $165. Yeah, that thing could definitely be reprinted. $165. That's crazy. What do we have next? BOFURI definitely gets a reprint if we ever see it. I said booster box would get a reprint. Trial deck would get a reprint. The show did too well, and not a lot of people knew about it at that time when this thing was out there for pre-order. I loved it. I bought a bunch of it. I'll tell you that. I have a bunch of trial deck displays of this thing. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I love it. Seven Deadly Sins. I don't think this is going to catch a reprint because there's so many of them. We have Rent a Girlfriend, which I can imagine there will be a season 2 of this set. That would be me. If I had the bet, I'd put my money on that we'd see a season 2 of it. Season 2 has been going pretty well in my eyes. People are going to hate it. People are going to love it. But in the end, they keep watching it. So this should be good. It was a fairly weak set. But you had Chizuru SP cards in there. Is it right here? Yep, we had a Chizuru SP card in there. It was really nice. I think it still sells in the 300s, low 400s. That's like the barrier, but still doing pretty well. I think some people may pick that up. RWBY, if we ever see another season, yeah. I mean, I have not checked out Ice Princess? Ice Queen, Ice Princess. Sorry, I haven't watched it. I've been too busy watching Licorice Recoil, Love Live, Classroom of the Elite. We got Overlord. See, there's so many animes. I have not watched RWBY yet, the new season. So if that ever does come, maybe they'll do a reprint of that. Quintessential Quintuplets. We should be seeing a movie set. I don't know if they reprint this in this form. I'm not really sure on that one. This one's an iffy one to me. I think it did sell pretty well, but do they go and do that? Because it's special packaging. You have the S. There was a lot of special things that happened with it set. I don't know if we ever see one again. Hololive, I can definitely see this being reprinted because I highly doubt we have seen the end of Hololive sets. This thing should be coming back again. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? I feel like I don't know if we're going to see a second set of this just because we have the whole other games picking it up. We got Oska picking that up. So who really knows? I don't know if we see another one of these. So will they be reprint? I don't think it's necessary at this point, but we might not even get another set. Tokyo Avengers, it had to do well in Japan, right? I don't know how it's English-wise, the booster boxes are still in the 40s, even with the dual lane deck. So who knows if we'll see this in English. Maybe Japan. I don't believe this is going to get a reprint. And lastly, the big one. We have Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. This one has the Toru in it, if you don't remember Toru. This time around, I think most people ordered cases that actually want this card. That way you can get it and you don't have to pay some astronomical price that we have here. So yeah, I honestly think if this sells out and there's a huge demand of it, you can always see a possibility that a reprint will happen. Oska also took this Dragon Maid as well the next season. So who knows if we'll actually see a subsequent set. So I would imagine it's either a reprint right away or you're not getting one. But even then, there was enough people that knew this time around that they wanted this card and pre-ordered a bunch of cases. I know pre-orders just ended, and at the same time, we'll just see if this gets modified in any sort of way. I know Weiss Schwarz said that they did not want to modify it like initially, but it might not be in their hands whether like they have to whether they can keep it uncensored. We don't know yet. They have not actually officially confirmed that. We have not seen any sort of pictures on that. So there we are. So what I'm leaving you with, I know I was going to show the Nazarick cards. I'm just not going to do that. I really wanted to do I really wanted to talk about Nazarick today and talk about those hololive PR, not hololive PR cards, but about the title cut PRs. But this reprint is very important because you really need to know what you're in this for. Are you in it to invest? Are you in it to collect? Are you in it to play? Are you okay with them reprinting at this point? Reprinting booster boxes? Are you okay with them reprinting trial decks? Because anyone that's ever told you that they are not going to ever reprint trial decks have been proven wrong. It made sense to me that they were going to reprint it. It's money, free freaking money for them, because they're already in talks with the IPs on doing a subsequent set. Why not throw the trial decks in there or booster box in there and get a reprint off? You already have it. You just got to press the button and out comes new cards of old sets. I think that's really easy to do. So why I went through all of this is because when you think through, are there going to be subsequent sets? Are you going to be buying these trial decks for a future investment to hold or not? Or just for your own personal collection? For me, I've always said this is for my own personal collection. I might buy some investment-wise, but in the end, I want to keep it all. So really, it's me just giving myself an excuse to just buy more and more of this stuff. That's all that really is. And for me, I'm okay. If they want to reprint it, go ahead. We know now that there is going to be some differentiation between first print and second print. The cool side for me is, think about it this way. If I had to open these to actually play with, like one day I just felt like playing Kaguya, I don't have to open my first edition Kaguya trial deck anymore. I just buy a second edition trial deck and play with that. Just then I preserve what this actually is. They need to put reprint on the actual trial deck. That would be very good if they did that. But outside of that, I think it's okay for me. I know it's going to hurt some other people, because if you bought a whole crap load of these cards, oh my god, that's a lot of tabs. If you bought a whole crap load of these Toka cards and now they're dropping in price, this reprint's not good for you. Again, the reprint is just going to be very, very bad, because at some point back in May, this is $27.99, dropping all the way now down to $14. And I know Data Live hasn't seen as much play just because of the ban that actually happened on it, but here we are. So reprints, as we know, can help collectors that haven't had it, can help players that don't actually have the card. But the people that own cards like this, where it's just a normal card, you're definitely going to be hurt by that. If you are wondering about these whole silver and gold signatures, how that does with actual prices, wherever I put that actual page, who knows? We'll see more data when we get Overlord eventually, if we ever get Overlord. That's the newest run, right? Coming out with that. And then with that, you have to ask yourself, would you buy this gold first edition card at $14.63, or would you buy a case of Mushoku Tensei, case of carton of trial decks for $800 and buy that instead? Like, would this give you the same feeling looking at a silver version of this or a gold version of this card? To me, I would just take the silver version, but that's just me and my whole budget kind of mentality. I know some people definitely want the first editions. Oh, that here it is. Right, so that whole thinking, which would you rather have? And the slime versions, I haven't seen enough to tell me either way, right? I can't imagine someone buying this for 10 grand. Never going to happen, and there hasn't been all that much happening with this. 10 grand, holy crap. Yeah, that's insane. 10 grand. Just imagine this, if this gets reprinted, this trial deck gets reprinted. Yikes for that Shizu and Rimuru Tempest, as those are your trial decks. Anyways, that's enough of that. Hopefully this solves the question for you about trial decks being reprinted. Hopefully it is more advantageous to you. Unfortunately, for the people that own this stuff, it's going to go down in value just a little bit. It should anyways. Actually, one last thing. There is a difference between first edition and second edition box. Let's check that out. Someone actually did buy some. There is, on August 16th, a $300 sale for that. $300. Yeah, $300. Damn. Damn. Kaguya, you could be worth a bunch one day. I doubt it. I doubt it. But anyways, let me know your thoughts down below. You feel free to email, Twitter me, whatever. All that stuff is in the description. As always, have fun, be happy, and don't spend anything outside your budget. Have a good one.